Welcome to episode 3 of our podcast series, the 2024 playoffs with Justin and TJ. And I got Justin here with me.
Hey, what's going on? What's going on?
And what's the topic today?
All right, so we're talking about AFC side of the playoffs, wild card through the conference championship, which, divisional with the Texans and the Ravens, Chiefs, Bills, and then the AFC championship between the Ravens and the Chiefs.
So starting off with this Texans-Ravens game, that was a really anticipated game, highly anticipated game between two powerhouse teams in their division.
Yeah.
But the final score of that game didn't tell that story. That was a two-possession ball game, 34-10 by the time the clock hit 0-0.
Yep.
Anything you want to say about that so far?
Well, I think the Texans, they were just young, man. They were just young team. They weren't ready. I got scared because I'm a Ravens fan. I was a little worried. I was like, oh, man, they finna choke right here. But they pulled it out. But Texans, they were just a young team. But if you look at it, they had a great season. You know, there's no reason to keep their head down about that loss because, I mean, the better team won, the right team won. Next year, you know, they have something to look forward to. You know, they learn throughout the season. CJ had a good season. Yeah.
That game really put CJ Stroud over the top in my rookie of the year race.
Mm-hmm.
Just with him being a rookie quarterback and coming into one of his first playoff games, throwing for almost 200 yards on 33 attempts. He only completed 19, but that still shows you over a 50% completion percentage, and we put up 10 points. Well, saying 10 points isn't a lot, but against that Baltimore defense and the way that they suffocated teams, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And then I feel like you said, they were young, but at the same time, DeMeco Ryan still has a lot to learn as a head coach. There were some decisions in that game where I felt like maybe going forward on fourth down or not attempting to do this or that in this specific situation could have played out differently. But like you said, at the end of the day, I feel like the better team won, the better coach team won, and that was like the way it was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs-Bills game, from my perspective, that was a totally different ball game.
Totally different story there.
Man, two offenses that just battled,
Yeah.
honestly. The elements played a big part in that game. From my perspective, I feel like it did. Wasn't as bad as the Chiefs game prior, but the weather still played a part in it. Both quarterbacks throwing for just about 200 yards and a touchdown apiece.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about that quarterback game?
It's always amazing to see both of them play against each other. But I will have to say, Bills are very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had chances. I can say the same thing about the other game we're going to talk about, Ravens and Chiefs, but they had their chances.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that one big throw that Josh Allen threw and Stephon Diggs drops it. I mean,
You got to bring that in.
you got to catch that, you know. And he talks a lot, and for him to not catch that, you know, I mean, there's no excuse for that.
I feel like that may have played a part in him getting traded, just because, like you said, you talk a lot. You're not a very, team-friendly kind of guy. Kind of stay out the way, give the shine to the quarterback. Stephon Diggs wants the attention. He wants the ball. And in the situation we give it to you, you don't come up.
You know.
And then now recently we can speak about him being traded and just like the day before you get traded, you're taking shots at the quarterback.
At your own quarterback.
Who just tried to give you a shot. In the game where, like I said, he threw for 186 yards and he had 2 touchdowns with his feet.
Yeah.
So, Josh Allen, I kind of do compare him to Cam a lot just because I feel like they're in that group of quarterbacks where my stats are always going to look kind of skewed just because of my mobility.
Yeah.
But when you do bring my mobility into play, my numbers aren't going to jump off the page at you until you look at what I did compared to other mobile quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And speaking of mobile quarterbacks, Josh Allen got his shot at one. Well, no, he got put out by one.
Yeah.
And then Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had to welcome one into Arrowhead. And when they welcomed Lamar Jackson, and to me, that game was the Super Bowl to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that was the dog fight that I expected.
Yeah.
I thought both defenses came out strong, did what they were supposed to do in that sort of situation.
And that Ravens-Chiefs game, coaching, I'm just going to say coaching. I mean, you got to run the ball, man. You got to run the ball, man. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. You've got to run the ball. Gus Edwards' first play, he gets like 10 yards. You don't go back to him anymore. Lamar, I mean...
I understand you just paid him that money. He's your guy. But like you said, at some point, we have to go back to situational foundation.
Go back to your roots. I mean, that's how you win. That's what got you there. That's how you win games. That's how you do what you do. And then and they had a chance. Zay Flowers fumbled the ball in the red zone. That changed the game right there. That changed the game.
I think that goes back to, again, the same thing with Houston. He's young. He still has to learn. And even in that game, we saw flashes of that with him getting angry on the sideline and punching stuff. Like, a lot of outsiders look down on that sort of thing, but me as a competitor, someone who's been in that situation, I saw it as that was me at some point. Like, it's not going your way. You feel you're at home. You feel like you should be dominating this game. And the opportunity for you to make the play that you've been visualizing since the beginning of the season is in your lap. It's big time trying to tie the game up, and you fumble.
Yeah, I mean, from that, it's you beat yourself up. I mean, we've all been through it. You make a mistake, you beat yourself up, but you learn. As long as he learns from it, just gets better. Don't let it bring you down. You just got to keep going.
I feel like in that moment, he had a good mentor in Odell being on the sideline with him. Someone we have documents of him fighting the goal on the sideline, and we've heard the narratives of him arguing with coaches and being more hot-headed than, like I said, most team-friendly guys are.
Yeah.
So for him to be that big brother to him in that situation, I commended Odell for that. And the Ravens were a playoff team last year, arguably a Super Bowl team. You just let Odell walk. You brought in Derrick Henry. What, as a Ravens fan, how do you feel?
They got to run the ball. They got to run the ball. They've got to get him another receiver maybe in the draft. Try to get another receiver. I mean, he don't have to be Malik Neighbors try to get you something. I mean, Zay Flowers, he went to Boston College. So you don't have to get a top 10 receiver. But with Derrick Henry, I mean, you got to run the ball. You got to trust in your players. You got to trust. Lamar has got to trust himself. I feel like he doesn't trust himself. So
there is a lot of situations where I saw, even in the Chiefs game, where yes, they were pressuring him, and yes, it was really quick decisions that had to be made. But if he just held on to the ball for a half a second longer, a receiver pops open, or a running lane for him to just extend the play, to buy yourself another 3 or 4 seconds. But instead, he takes his eyes off the downfield and tries to find the closest sideline to throw the ball to, or even sometimes take a sack.
Yeah.
The playoff team that sticks out the most to me, like even through free agency, is the Texans. They're the hot topic right now.
Yeah.
Recently, they just shook the NFL world with this trade of acquiring who we just mentioned, Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
So how do you, as a young Texas team, how does Stephon Diggs come help you?
I don't know, man. They got a lot of weapons. I don't know. I'm excited to see how they work out. I hope they can stay healthy. Injuries are gonna always be a factor, but hopefully they can stay healthy enough to I mean, you know what they're preparing for. You know they're trying to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Trying to match the Chiefs.
It's an arms race.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see this dynamic with Diggs not being the only person who deserves targets on this team.
How is he going to respond to that?
Because some people may feel that Gabe Davis took some of his catches and some of his targets, or however you want to look at it. But going into this Houston situation, you're not the number one guy, which is why I feel like they restructured his contract to where if it works, cool, we can work on bringing you back long term.
Yeah.
But if not, we got a second round pick out of it. You're not getting a upper echelon check, but we're not lowballing you neither.
Yeah, that was smart. That was smart by the Texans. Just see how it work out. If Diggs wants to win, he's got to buy in. I don't think he buys in. I think he's kind of a me player. Because it's just a lot. At first, I was a fan of. I mean, I'm still a fan of him. But at first, I was on his side. But now, with the sideline, sitting on the sidelines, they lost. I'm like, yeah, tough loss. But now he did it again, and it's still a loss. Not catching the ball when he need to, and he's complaining. All this complaining. I mean, you got to do your part.
At some point, you got to be accountable.
He's got to be accountable. You got to show up.
And with these guys like Tank Dell on the team, who has a chip on his shoulder because he's a smaller guy, fell to the third round, fourth round. But some people say he was a day one talent. So how do you counteract that? And then you have Dalton Schultz on the team, who's a bona fide target.
Yeah.
So, and Nico Collins is running by people like it is nothing. So
he wasn't even. I mean. He wasn't even like that at Michigan. I mean, he was, but he's gotten so he's gotten so much better. I mean, they got a lot of weapons, a lot of firepower. Hopefully, they can come back to Chiefs.
So, with these trades, and now that we're basically on the back end of free agency, it's draft time.
Yep.
Like Combines has wrapped up. We're wrapping up pro days. Who out of these AFC teams do you feel like makes the biggest move in the draft?
Out of the playoff teams. Okay. Chiefs. The Texans. Sorry, Texans. I think they might not do much because I won't say Texans because they kind of made their moves. I think they might look for some defense, but they've got Christian Harris. They made some big plays. Ravens. I'm sure they probably look for a receiver, somebody maybe to replace Patrick Queen. The Bills, I think the Bills will. I'm looking at the Bills because they lost a lot defensively, offensively.
Mac Hollins is one of your top premier receivers.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's gonna be enough to get you in the upper echelon of the AFC. So. They've got to look for some defense. I think they got to look at some DBs, try to get them a safety, but mainly try to get Josh Allen some help. Because if he's just running the ball, he's gonna get hurt. From
my perspective, I think the Chiefs are gonna make a big move, losing L'Jarius Sneed, and they made a lot of what I would call budget moves. They had a lot of money tied up in places, but at the same time, to bring back a lot of their pieces, they had to let some pieces fall.
Yeah.
So I feel like with the depth of the DBs in this class, the Kool-Aid McKinstry's, the Nate Wiggins, the Kalen King, I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a move at DB, potentially move up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Buffalo move up in the draft. And even like you brought up Houston making a move. There's potential for that they just brought in another second round pick, and they still have not a lot of room, but they still have some capital from the Deshaun Watson trade.
Yep.
So they could turn some of that, package it with this second rounder they just got in, make a move before, they could just sit pat. But you also mentioned, something I forgot to mention, Patrick Queen going to the Steelers. Again, I know how how touchy the subject is, because as a Falcons fan, I hated it when Curtis Lofton went and joined the Saints.
Yeah.
How do you feel? How do you feel like this is going to affect next season?
I'm kind of in between because Patrick Queen, he kind of listens to Roquan Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Roquan Smith is the main guy on defense. He's the quarterback of the defense.
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal, but at the same time it is, because Patrick Queen, he's tough. He buys in with the team. He wants to win.
Very downhill player.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have it. If you tell him to go knock somebody's head off, he'll knock somebody's head off. He'll go do it.
And not think twice about it.
Not even thinking twice about it. And the Ravens love the type of players. So for the most part, I'm really hurt, especially that it had to be the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he have to go to the Steelers? But I will watch out for the Steelers. They made some big moves. The defense is gonna be something serious, and they've made some big quarterback moves too. I'm looking forward to seeing how they look next year.
Well, anything else you'd like to say?
Nope, I don't. I do not.
We'd like to thank y'all for tuning in to episode 3 of the 2024 NFL playoffs with Justin and TJ.